Hello! Today I'd like to go over how to be stealthy in Starfield. Stealth is one of the systems that's changed quite a bit in Starfield compared to previous Bethesda titles. It's actually a lot more sophisticated than it used to be. You can't sneak right in front of someone just because you have Stealth 100 anymore. Starfield is not Fallout or Skyrim. If you're not aware of the differences, you might end up feeling a bit frustrated. That doesn't mean that the stealth and camouflage skills aren't useful. In fact, you should prioritize them if you want to play sneaky. The point I'm making is that you can't just get them and assume that you'll be invisible. There's more to stealth than just skills. You as a player are also a factor. So let's walk over some of the things to keep in mind if you want to play sneaky in Starfield. The most important by far is to stay out of the line of sight of enemies. This applies through the entire game, even if you have max stealth and camouflage skills. This footage is from a character with only stealth level 2. You can see that you immediately become detected if enemies see you. But even if you're using the void power to become invisible, enemies will often suspect something if you're in their line of sight for long enough. But on the other hand, hiding behind even a small box will make a huge difference to how visible you are. Always look for items to hide behind, and if you have to move, always do it when enemies are facing away from you. Using third-person view will help you look around corners without exposing yourself. But you should understand that Starfield is not a game where you can stay hidden or take down entire groups of enemies without being detected. The game makes this clear in one of the early missions that takes you to the station around the moon. The enemy is looking your way, and there is no way to get past this sky without being detected, at least not in your first run. Your companions also affect your stealth, so it's generally a good idea to tell them to wait while you sneak around. Some are better than others though, like Andrea, who has the chameleon ability. The game also takes sound into account, so even if you're out of sight, the enemy can still detect you. And one of the changes Starfield makes to stealth is that enemies are much more sensitive to noises than they used to be. If you move, reduce your speed to walking. On PC you do this by pressing the caps lock. You'll have to move slowly like this until you get camouflage level 2. After that you can go back to normal speed without affecting your stealth. Do not run or sprint unless you're actively spotted. But sound is not just about movement. You can get detected if you use powers near to enemies. If you've also unlocked boost packs, be aware that using a boost will take you out of stealth. You can usually get away with one boost if you're not inside of the enemies. But more than one boost and you're likely to go into danger. It's best to stick to climbing if you can. I expect that most people will know that you want to use silenced weapons. You'll have to invest a few points into the weapon engineering skill, but that's a good idea anyway, so they're not wasted points. There's also suit mods to make you stealthier. That will involve spending points on the spacesuit design skill, and it should become available at rank 3. But again, this skill is well worth the investment. If you're on a planet with atmosphere, you can take off your space suit and just wear the operative suit. That's a unique clothing item you get during the Ryujin questline, and it gives you a 25% bonus to stealth. Removing your space suit makes you stealthier, but it also makes you more vulnerable. But it is good to keep in mind that removing it improves your stealth. Some chems also improve your stealth. You want the ones that make you more silent, but the ones that make you move faster are also very useful to minimize how long you're exposed. The first time I did the Ryujin mission where you infiltrate your own building, I found it impossible to do without using Frost Wolf in some sections. Once you get the first level of the stealth skill, you'll get the stealth gauge at the top of the screen. You'll notice that if you do anything that gives you away, like say shooting from cover, the gauge will go up. Even if you're still in caution and not immediately in danger, you'll find that shooting again will tend to give you away. So what you should do is, after your detection level goes up, you should break line of sight and wait for the detection to drop before doing anything else that gives you away. The same goes if you go into danger. It will never drop unless you break line of sight. The void power and camouflage are very useful to get you back into cover and avoiding detection by enemies looking for you. Against groups of enemies, you can remain stealthy if you take them out without going into full danger. The power to slow time and the final level of the boost assault skill will help you take down groups in the least time possible. If you use a weapon, it's actually not too difficult to be reasonably stealthy even at low levels. But if you're going for a fist fighting style, then you'll have to adjust your expectations because it can be pretty frustrating at the beginning. You should only expect to be able to take on single enemies in stealth. Any more than that, and you should assume you'll go into danger. Don't bother trying to be sneaky after you get a first strike. But one benefit of using fist fighting is that once you have the Neurostrike skill, you can knock out all the enemies and come back to take them out one by one. Crouch and target the head for that 10-time damage bonus, or you can pull out a weapon and execute them. A 5-time damage bonus from the Concealment skill should mean that most enemies will just go down before they can get up again. The stealth is different and more nuanced than in previous Bethesda games, but if you keep in mind the things I mentioned, you'll find that it's not too difficult to use stealth to your advantage. Just keep in mind that this is not Assassin's Creed, and you should adjust your expectations because you won't be able to take out all enemies purely from stealth. At some point you'll have to fight. A good example of this is the mission to the mech factory. Even if you sneak past all the enemies, when you enter a new area, a bunch of enemies will follow you in. That's an extreme example, but generally speaking the game is not designed around stealth. So use stealth as a tool, but understand that it shouldn't be your only tool. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. See you soon.